Under the scorching sun of the Masai Mara, the Kenyan sky looked like a sunburnt film strip flickering with heat. Rivers that were once gentle were now nothing but cracked, barren ditches. In the suffocating silence of the dry season, a migrating elephant herd moved heavily toward the horizon, where the hope of a drop of water remained distant. Kibo, a young elephant with soft ears and a curious soul, could not resist the pull of a gray-green mud puddle appearing in the middle of the dry riverbed. To a child with a throat burning from thirst, it was a blessing. But the wild wilderness always hides the most cruel traps behind a peaceful appearance. As soon as the small feet of Kibo touched that surface, the mud did not support him. It cracked open, swallowing his legs and then his entire body. It was not water, but a thick sinkhole, a dark mouth of Mother Earth waiting patiently for prey. Kibo panicked. The more he struggled, the tighter the suction of the mud became, pulling him deeper. He stretched his small trunk toward the sky, emitting a desperate cry, a sound that tore through the silence of the savannah. The amber eyes of Kibo widened, filled with ultimate fear as he saw his herd moving far away over the hill. In that moment, death was no longer a distant concept, but a cold feeling gradually filling his chest. However, amid that despair, a majestic figure suddenly appeared above the brink. The figure that just appeared on the edge of the mud pit was Kaisa, a male lion who had lived through more than half his life. On the Masai Mara savanna, the name Kaisa was once the terror of all large livestock. But now, the scars crisscrossing his face and his mane torn from battles for territory had turned him into a contemplative loner. Kaisa had lost everything. His cubs were swept away by floodwaters in a devastating rainy season, and his status as leader had fallen to younger, more aggressive lions. Kaisa slowly approached the edge of the mud pit. The instinct of a top predator rose in his veins. A trapped baby elephant was a hearty meal without effort, a blessing granted by nature to an old hunter exhausted by hunger. Kaisa looked down at Kibo. His dull, golden eyes met the tearful eyes of the young elephant. In that moment, something strange happened. The cry of Kibo was no longer the sound of prey. It sounded exactly like the desperate whimpering of the children Kaisa had helplessly watched sink under the floodwaters years ago. People often say nature has no compassion, only survival. But for Kaisa, survival suddenly became meaningless if he let another small living being die under the coldness of the mud. Kaisa did not roar. He lowered his center of gravity, his sharp claws digging into the hard, dry ground above to maintain balance. He knew that if he slipped, he himself would become a victim of this dark trap. Instead of lunging at the throat to finish the prey, Kaisa performed an action that would shock anyone witnessing it. He leaned his face down, gently but firmly using his strong teeth to grip the trunk of Kibo. He did not bite deep to cause injury. He used his lips and incisors to clamp tightly, just like the way a mother lion carries her cubs. The tug of war with death began. Kaisa put all his strength into his powerful shoulders and hind legs, which were trembling from pressure. Every time he pulled up an inch, the mud pit hissed with greedy sounds, as if wanting to hold the prey tight. Kibo, in pain and shock, suddenly felt a surge of power pulling him up from the darkness. The baby elephant stopped struggling instinctively, as if he understood that this predator was his only lifeline. Sweat mixed with dust flowed down the forehead of Kaisa, his breath becoming heavy and hot right next to the face of Kibo. In the silence of the savannah, only the racing heartbeats of two creatures who were originally enemies, now bonding in an extraordinary effort of survival, could be heard. Kaisa knew he was gambling with his life, because his strength was limited, and every passing second, the mud became heavier. But the old king did not give up. He was atoning for the past by saving the future of a child who did not belong to his species. Right at the moment Kaisa was using his last bit of strength to pull Kibo out of the thick mud, the ground began to shake. From behind the acacia trees, a cloud of dust rose high into the sky, accompanied by iron-like roars that shook the humid air. The mother elephant had returned. In the world of elephants, maternal love is a sacred and inviolable religion. When the mother elephant realized the absence of Kibbo and followed the cry for help back, the scene hitting her eyes was a worse nightmare. From a distance of hundreds of meters, the mother could not see the life-saving effort of Kaisa. She only saw a large male lion gripping the trunk of her child. In the subconscious of a lead elephant, it was an image of a massacre. A predator was trying to execute her son in the most brutal way. The mother elephant charged like a giant tank without brakes. Her ears spread wide like two sails, her trunk raised high, and her long sharp tusks pointed straight at the enemy. Each of her footsteps hitting the ground created shocks, causing small birds nearby to fly away in terror. The rage of a mother is a power that can crush any king of the savannah. Kaisa heard the roar, felt the ground shaking under his feet. He knew well that death was rushing toward him at a terrifying speed. If he were a young and wise lion, he would have let go of the prey immediately to escape into the bushes. But Kaisa did not do that. He looked down at Kibbo, the baby elephant still stuck halfway in the black mud. If he let go now, due to the momentum of suction and panic, Kibbo would sink, and perhaps his head would plunge straight into the deep mud before the mother could reach him. Do not let go. Save him. An unfamiliar instinct, rising above even the fear of death, screamed in the mind of Kaisa. The old lion clenched his teeth tighter, his front legs sinking into the hard edge of the earth until they bled. He ignored the pain, ignored the roaring coming close to his ears. Kaisa concentrated all remaining life into his muscles, a pull so strong that his neck bones cracked. The price of kindness in the wild is often very expensive. Kaisa accepted trading his life for a chance for the child. He did not run away. He chose to stay to finish his job. The distance between the mother elephant and Kaisa was now only measured in meters. The eyes of the mother elephant burned with hatred, while the eyes of Kaisa only had exhaustion and peace. A great misunderstanding was taking place in the heart of the savannah, where a heroic act was being interpreted as a barbaric crime. Kaisa closed his eyes, preparing to receive the horrific blow from the mother going mad with love for her child, while Kibbo had just been pulled completely on a hard ground, stunned by the rapid turn of fate. The sound of collision rang out like a dry thunderclap in the wilderness, as Kibbo was just completely pulled from the mud pit. It was also the time the mother elephant arrived with all the weight of 3 tons of flesh and bone and extreme rage. Kaisa did not have time to dodge, or perhaps he no longer had the strength to dodge. The headbutt from the giant head of the mother elephant slammed straight into the ribs of the lion, causing the majestic body of the old king to fly away like a dry leaf in a whirlwind. Kaisa hit the trunk of an ancient baobab tree hard, the sound of ribs breaking echoing chillingly. He fell to the ground, dust covering his body full of mud and blood. The mother elephant did not stop there. She let out a heartbreaking roar, immediately reaching out her giant trunk, intending to wrap tightly around the one she thought was a killer to toss him until death. Her pillar-like legs lifted up, ready to crush the chest of the beast, lying gasping for air. In the eyes of the mother elephant now, Kaisa was just a monster pretending to be dead after harming her child. She did not see the mud stains covering the face of the lion, nor did she realize that those very teeth had exhausted themselves to hold the life of Kibbo. But just as the foot of the mother elephant was about to deliver the final blow, a small figure, smeared with mud, staggered out. It was Kibbo, despite still trembling after the near-death shock. The young elephant used all his strength to stand between his mother and the lion lying on the ground. Kibbo did not run to the safe arms of his mother. He chose to stand and protect the one who had just bitten his trunk. The mother elephant froze, her giant foot hanging in the air just centimeters from the head of Kaisa. She was bewildered, her heavy breath blowing out heat like a furnace. She did not understand why her beloved child was protecting the enemy. Kibbo stretched his small trunk, gently wrapping it around the leg of his mother, then turned to touch the bleeding nose of Kaisa. He made low, rapid sounds, a special language of elephants used to soothe and explain. In that strangely quiet moment, Time seemed to stop on the savanna. The mother elephant lowered her foot to the ground. She looked at Kibbo, then looked down at the old lion looking at her with peaceful eyes, without a bit of aggression or resentment. She saw the mud trail stretching from the pit up to the mane of Kaisa, saw the footprints of the lion that had held on until bleeding by the edge. A late but powerful understanding crept into the mind of the mother elephant. She realized the mark on the trunk of her child was not a bite of a predator, but the mark of an unprecedented rescue effort. The ultimate anger vanished, replaced by a shock and deep respect for the one on the other side of the natural law. Kaisa, though in pain, still blinked softly as a farewell from one king to another king. In the unusually quiet space of sunset, the blind rage of the lead female elephant gradually faded, making way for the awakening of a leader who had weathered many storms. She looked down at her feet, then back at the fresh blood mixed with mud on the mane of Kaisa. With the experience of one who had led the herd through thousands of miles of savanna, she realized that if the lion really wanted to kill Kibbo, he would not have stayed to take the blow. That silent understanding spread through her veins, causing her to lower her giant trunk, not to attack, but to perform a rare peace ritual between two species representing the power of nature. The mother elephant slowly stepped back a few paces, keeping a respectful distance from the injured lion. She used her trunk to grab a handful of dry leaves and dust, gently tossing them into the air toward Kaisa, an ancient gesture of elephants to express gratitude and soothe the wounds of the opponent. Her eyes now were no longer burning with hatred, but filled with a sense of regret and deep respect for the enemy who had just saved the future of her herd. She understood that, in this harsh world, kindness is the only language that does not need a roar or a shout to be expressed. Kibbo, after seeing his mother had calmed down, gently rubbed his head against the trembling legs of Kaisa as a farewell, then walked slowly toward his mother. The mother elephant used her trunk to wrap around her small child, guiding him away toward the horizon, where the darkness of the great forest was gradually falling. But every few steps, Kibbo turned his head back, his amber eyes looking deep into the lonely figure under the baobab tree, as if wanting to engrave the image of the savior into his heart. Kaisa stood up with difficulty, his breath still painful, but his dull golden eyes sparkled with a strange peace. He had traded his own safety to protect a small living being, and in the moment close to death, he had received a priceless gift, understanding from the elephant species. He did not roar to assert authority, only silently watched the figures of the two elephants disappear into the thin mist of late afternoon. The story of Kaisa and Kibbo will soon become a legend whispered among the acacia trees and dry rivers of the Masai Mara. It reminds us that, amid fierce survival, nobility always exists like an underground stream flowing through souls that know how to love. Sometimes, a small act of help can blur the boundary between predator and prey, turning ancient enemies into soulmates in a fateful moment. We often see the world through the lens of fear and existing prejudices. But if you have the courage to pause for a beat, observing with your heart instead of with anger, you will see that kindness is always present in places few expect. Never judge an action only by its appearance, because behind a threatening bite may be an entire heart trying to save a life. Thank you for following the touching story of Kaisa and Kibbo. If the moment Kibbo stood up to protect the lion touched your heart, please press like and share this video to spread the message of understanding. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss other miraculous journeys on the green savanna. Please leave a comment. Kindness will win if you believe that kindness always has the power to change the world. See you in the next stories.